All right, what's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. Book is entitled "Lessons from a Non-Custodial Father" at Amazon, Kindle, and Create Space. A link will be in the description box below, as usual. Um, this one is about the Colonial Marines. A lot of this NFL flag stuff, and you're disrespecting the flag and the anthem, which is a deflection. Just some BS. Has something to do with the anthem and the Colonial Marines. Like, nobody addresses the other stanza of the anthem because of the Colonial Marines. When they talk about, there should be no refuge for the slave, the hireling and the slave. That's really a reference to the Colonial Marines. And who the Colonial Marines were black people, our people who were enslaved, who wound up fighting for the British against the United States. And they they won a few wars. Actually, they won a few wars. I think, and for Britain. And the fighting helped them. That's how they got their freedom. Similar to blacks fighting in the Union against the Confederacy, basically, and blacks fighting in the Spanish Army, and blacks fighting in Mexico. Like, some of y'all don't know about Gaspar Yanga, who they were ex-slaves who beat the French. This is really the prelude to Cinco de Mayo. That was really some black slaves led by Gaspar Yanga, who was called Yanga for short, who beat their army, and then it sparked the rest of the revolution for them to win. But same thing, John Horse in Florida, who was an ex-slave, that type of thing, the Nat Turner story and all that other stuff. Because of that, and Francis Scott Key being a slave owner, there was this hatred for black people who decided that they wasn't taking the BS. Like, to this day, like, when a black person's like, "Look, man, you ain't gonna treat me like any kind of way. I'm not having it." The country gets all in an uproar, like, you should be able to just, get beat up by me and get used up and just take it. No, it's not like that. But the thing about the Colonial Marines was, there was at the end of it, there was a black fort that got burned down. Because I want to say it was either they won in D.C. and Philly, I believe. Don't quote me right now, but they won either in D.C. or Philly, and they kept the United States military from winning. And of course, they were hated because they were fighting with the Brits, but they were hated because there was black fighting with the Brits, and there was ex-slaves fighting with the Brits, and they had an axe to grind. And the irony of that in itself is, when you look at the Colonial Marines, they are no different than the founding fathers of America, in a sense, because you got these Europeans who left Britain because they were tired of oppression, and they came to America, and they did the exact same thing to the people in America, the natives, the blacks that were already here, and the Africans that were shipped over. Did the same exact thing to them, and worse than what was done to them in Britain. And what happened was, these people defected, right? Because they wasn't having it. They weren't feeling it either. So, to on one end have this beef with Europe and Britain about oppression, and then on another end have this hatred about people you oppress fighting back, is really very like hypocritical and schizophrenic, because it's like, I'm fighting against them because I'm sick of how they treat me. How dare you fight with them when I'm treating you worse than they treated me? Like, what? Like, it's just crazy. But unfortunately, this is how this country gets down, right? So now, you can go to Buffalo Soldiers and all that other stuff, like, but the thing about that is some people to this day take that as disrespect. How dare they fight with the Brits? But the weird part about it is after all of this time, America still acts like Elizabeth and Harry and all them, like it's the royal family here too. Like, it's always that underlying tone, because this country really still speaks. The country's main language is English, which comes from where? Britain, right? England. So, in some ways, this country is still in reverence to Britain, whether you like to admit it or not. The colors, red, white, and blue. Where did you get that from? England, right? You've hit France too. But that's the thing. But because of things like the Colonial Marines, there's always this, to me, there's always this air of you're black but you're not patriotic, because we fought in every American war, every war in America, and we fought for everybody. Like, we fought with America, we fought with Britain, we fought with the French, we fought with the Spanish. I mean, and this was in the inception of the country. We fought against them all. You know what I'm saying? We fought against the French. We fought against the British. We fought against. I don't think we fought against this Spanish. Probably so though. Because it's different with the Spanish, like Spaniards, Mexicans. It's kind of different. So I can't put a post on that one right now. Not off the top of my head. So people are like, where do our loyalties lie? And a lot of times our loyalties lie in us. Everybody else is out for themselves. Like, nobody fights for us. Nobody was trying to fight for our freedom. And the other thing about that I think is overlooked about people like the Colonial Marines was it shines a light on the idea that we were just slaves who were comfortable with being enslaved. Like, there were a lot of people who defected in the military. Like I said before, we fought for ourselves, fought in America, fought against the Confederacy. We fought against the America with the Spanish, with the English, and I believe with the French too. I'm just tired right now, but we fought for our freedoms, and that's absent of the slave revolts. You know what I'm saying? That's absent of the people who just went off the farm in peace and fought for their little space, and that's how you had people all across America that were black who owned big pockets of land and that were wealthy because they were off to themselves. Like, nah, we ain't with it. Don't bring that nonsense here. They were free blacks. They were enslaved blacks. But people just try to skip around it. So, to me, I would tip my hat off to the Colonial Marines because they fought for freedom to the point where there's an actual that old fort that got burned down was considered like the Negro fort. It got burned down, blown up, however you want to see it, call it. But it's a monument. It's a African American monument now. So it shows to the point where we're not here just playing games and taking ass whipping. We've been taking ass whipping though, but this is why I quote unquote say we're disrespecting the flag, because black people have been fighting for this country to uphold its principles ever since the beginning, even though we were excluded from all these American principles from the beginning. People still don't realize that the original Statue of Liberty was a black woman. I know that's hard for some people to grasp, but that's what it is. So, that's just my thoughts on the Colonial Marines, and I just wanted to put that out there just for, reference. We out.